Okay, so each component has its own history, and then that history gets embedded within the history of the entire product. Okay, so it's not a separate history that operates on its own, which it can, but it's linked up with this history. Okay, that's an important distinction I want to make. And if a question is being asked, if we're recording, yes, we are recording. Thank you. Okay, so we have our top cushion shape, and obviously the cutters have been through the mill, they've been merged, they've been combined, removed. So we have this component with the cutters combined, removed here. And we're going to put our history to use. Okay, so I'm going to drag my model stop here. And I'm just going to move it up to the point where I see we brought our cutters in. And we got some tweaks in place here. And I'll drag and I'll stop it right here for now. We'll see what we can do with this. All right, well, I'm going to take this a step further. I want to come down and mirror the components. Curve 7, mirror, what's this? We got the rod in place. Okay, we haven't merged our components yet. Let's see if we can just come down here prior to the merge. Okay, so at this stage, notice with my entity filter on shape, it's not highlighting their components. I'm going to set my entity filter to component. And I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to hover my cursor on top. I have my highlight set to a green or a yellow. I'm going to change it back to a texture. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so I have my entity filter on component. Notice it hasn't been merged yet in history. I'm going to double click this. So now I'm in the history of this particular component, right? So now I want to create a custom cutter. I'm going to drag my model stop here above my sketch, right? And now in this history, I'm going to press this pencil, zoom in. This is the scallop that we had from before. I'm going to right-click draw, right-click critical. I'll snap to this endpoint. I'm looking at my inferencing lines, and I want to line it up nicely with my endpoints and come in. So now we have a rectangle. I'm going to turn this into construction geometry. I'm going to exit the sketch. I'm going to replay all operations, and it's stopping over here, so ZW is going to ask us. It's going to try and pick an alternative. And I'm going to just edit them and allow ZW to pick the alternatives. Okay, so we're just linking it up to this new rectangle. And okay, all right. Now I'm going back to my other history, and you can see they're all changed. Okay, they're no longer scallops, they're rectangles. Within this history, I'm going to test it out. I'm going to see if it'll just play through the rest of it. Replay all operations. There you go. Okay, so that's how you can modify your cutters. All right, I didn't fine-tune this, and I wasn't paying attention to make it perfectly dead on. I just wanted to pass the principle along. This is too deep, and maybe we need a little bit more of a scale on the backside. But that's the principle, okay? It doesn't have to be a square. It could be a zigzag bottom, okay? Something unusual. It can be a spline that gets modified. All right, so that's one way how to come in and make a custom cutter, probably the easiest way. All right, so now the next question is, on this halo, our customer would like to get diamonds in between. And they want one dead center, and then they want one on each side of center. Okay? Looks like they attempted it over here, and then this is a good start. But I'm going to play the game a little bit differently. I'll do it two ways. One is, just by eyeballing it. Let's say you want to just come in and crank this job out. And another way is we want to come in and maybe put some controls so we can finesse it, we can fine tune it. So if you want to just knock it out quickly, you could come in with your wireframe, bring in a line, and right click. Let's do a curved surface intersection for the top. So that's our curve. Our surface is the side view. That's our first point. Right click, curved surface intersection again for the bottom. The same surface. So now we have a line over here, right? Now the next one, we could just eyeball it rather than doing curved surface. Okay, it's not the way I prefer, but I just want you to see this is one way to play the game. All right, so I'll come in with another line on this edge. Let's say we want to go over here to over here. All right, we're just eyeballing it. Right click, insert a datum on this curve. You could set your entity filter to critical or, default is going there. I'm sorry, on entity is nailing it. You want to see it pop dead center. All right, and move your x-axis over to y, 180. And now rotate this up, okay? If you want it straight up and down, like this, just look at it from a right-hand view. And you can see if that's what you'd like. If you want it flowing with that curve, you're going to move in 90-degree increments, okay? But let's stick with 60 for now. And I'm going to let go of the rectangle so we don't have to make the screen too busy. And approve the command. Right click, insert another sketch. Bingo, same way, right on this curve. Move the x-axis around. And let's rotate this up. Well, let's see how we're going to play this out here. Okay, here's our datum right here. I want to see it line up as though there was a two-point line over here. I would want this to be parallel to it. And it's really not too far off as far as that's concerned right there. Oh, I don't know if I got the right one. No, I got the wrong one. Let me keep my eye on it. It's this one right here. So let's go in the top. Zoom in. And here it is, right here. So let's just play this out. We might have to use this a couple of times. All right, now I'm going to rotate again about the y-axis. I'm going to move this over. I want to see the x line up. Shape, move. This datum, I'm going to rotate it about this direction. Come into top view. Look at it carefully. and we're going to do a dynamic input. And I'm looking to line up that x-axis to be perpendicular to this black line. All right? Perpendicular to the black line as much as possible. You can play with it after the fact also in history. I'll leave it there for now. Okay, so now, again, if you want to have it pointing in this direction on an angle up, it's up to you, but if you want to have it similar to the center, we're going to do a move again. And we're going to move this datum and rotate it, just rotate it, about this x-axis. Okay, and now we're going to play with this. And we could always come back to it if we're not content later on. I'm going to leave it here, knowing that I could just dig in and play the game again later. All right, so we have this. Gem settings, place a stone. See what size will fit. Well, it looks like a 1 millimeter might be appropriate. Let's see if we can go up a little bit more. This is probably pushing it. I think a 1 millimeter is a little bit closer to home because we need room for our bezel. Okay, don't forget the bezel. So I'm going to knock this down and put these two in. Okay, so this is going straight in, just like this one is here. Okay, this isn't on an angle. Okay, and we can offset this outwards. You have inside the tool, we have the elevation, right? So now, I'm in a beta version here. I don't know how this is going to go. I suspect with the small stone it could be an issue. How it's coming in. Okay, so these come in with, we're going to probably change this around and have a shallower depth from the get-go. Okay, so way too deep, way too much of an angle, way too thick for this size stone. We'll approve it. Come into the editor, press this button, right? Make sure you press that button right here. So now, bezel length below girdle, this is going to be insignificant. This is probably going to be about 1 millimeter. Okay? Gem length, this is our stone. Height above the girdle, such a small stone, this is going to be smaller. 0.5, and that'll probably give you a little extra material. Top width, a 0.5 millimeter is probably going to look huge. You might want to come down to about 0.35. Bezel angle, this one here is just straight. Maybe you don't want to come straight. Maybe you want to come close to it. We'll do 85. Bottom width, you can't have 1 millimeter. You got a slight taper. You got a 1 millimeter stone. If you got a bottom width of 1 millimeter, that means you got one on each side. It's going to be closed. With the angle, it's not only going to be closed, you're going to have it intersecting. So your bottom width, you got to knock it down to, let's say, about 0.45. We'll see how it goes. The same with the seat length. The seat length 0.75 times 2 because you got a seat on this side going around. So that gives you 1.5 total. You just don't have room for it. It'll be a bad surface. So I'm going to come in here with, let's say, 0.4 and see how it plays out. I'll press apply. and approve it. And, well, our height is still up there. We could play with another dimension in here. We could do a lot of different things to this. So let's do it real fast in history. Okay, so I'm going to come in right after those bezels I put in. And I got this move in. I have this move. Let's see. Let's swing this last one out. Oh wait, no, we want this one. We want to swing this outwards. So shape, move, rotate this datum about this axis. And, well, we've got 22, negative 22 in there. Let's just see if we can use that. Replay all. Okay, so that rotated this bezel a little bit. All right, if we want to change the bezels, select them. Their components. Press the button, make sure you do that. And, well, your height above girdle, 0.5, top width, still, you know, for manufacturing, I would keep this, right? If I wasn't manufacturing, obviously, I'm going to knock it down a lot. Let's just do 0.25 for now. And we got that. We have that. I'll approve it. Okay, well, 0.25 might be a little bit too much for the side. You can play it two ways. You could come in and offset this face slightly. To fill the gap. Yeah, I want to point out, as you're using this new tool, in 2014 we have direct editing tools and we have this other offset face tool. And when you're using it and you drag up and down, right? Come in and just do another left click to secure it. All right, so now you have material for the bezel to bite into. And now you can come in and go to your tools, mirror components, side datum, and select your components. And middle click, or just go into the mirror component tool again and do the backside. We're going to be doubling up over here, but you'll see. We'll just live with it for this. Okay, so that's without working, using any precision, okay? And this definitely needs some fine tuning, but the principle's there for you to dig in and play it out. Okay, so that's number one. I'm going to eliminate all that work. We'll delete the rest of history. Okay, so now we'll play it with a little bit more precision. I'm going to insert variable, which is some controls we're going to put on this. So we'll say control underscore center window diamond 1. And let's see, what do I want to do with this one? Maybe I want to control an angle. Well, let's give it an angle. Let's say 10 degrees. Just for now. We could always change it later on. And I'm going to insert another control. Again, for the new people, make sure that you do not have spaces between your names. Put an underscore. It won't work. Okay, so let's say we'll control diamond, window, side. And, again, I'm just going to give it a random number, thinking of an angle that I'll put to use. And we'll just come in and do more here at the same time. So I'm thinking of that. Now I'm going to put in another one here. Insert variable. We'll say control diamond side position. We'll call this 45. And OK to command. All right. Takes a little bit more time, but you can play with it better. Shape, copy, this datum, side view datum, and we're going to go about the z-axis. Okay, I could pick this triad over here, or I can pick it from here, or I can right-click and pick the z-axis. Okay, in the angle, I'm going to activate the field, right-click, expression, press the letter A. And now going into my browser, and this is control diamond side position. All right? I'm going to use that one. And that's 45. Okay, so having that in, I'm going to bring in my wires like before. And we'll go to our line, right? I'm sorry, no, not the line. We're going to go to wireframe, and we're going to get our ISO curve on face. Nope. Our intersection curve. Sorry about that. And the intersection curve is going to be faces and datums. If you pick them separately, that's okay. In other words, you can set up this to face and pick these two outside faces, activate the second shape, and then come in and pick datum. And you can pick the front and the copied one. You can work that way. Or you can come in and just set it to face datum. It's faster. Pick the two faces, come in here, and then pick these two datums. And approve it. Okay, so now we have these. This one here is dead on, 45 from center. And we have this here. Now we'll come in with our wire line, right-click, critical, to the curve's endpoints. 1, 2, middle click. And I'll pick this here, 1, 2, right there, okay? So now we have that in. If we decide to change that, we can bring this up to the top and create some new driving parameters. I'm just going to middle click to clear these. I'm left clicking and then middle clicking. Left click, middle click. Okay, now I'm going to left click and I'm going to pick these in here. So I'm going to left click on these different controls. All right, so we can work from there. So for example, if I don't want this dead on at 45, maybe you want it a little bit tighter to center, right? Maybe you want it 35. Press apply. And now it's closer. I don't know if you can see that. I'll exaggerate it a little bit more. I'll go about 55 and apply it. And you can see it's out here now, right? Okay, so for the moment, I'll work 45. Right-click. Since I know it's going to be perfectly aligned with the front view plane, I'm going to right-click, insert a datum, and I'm going to select the front view, which is the XZ datum. I'll just pick it right in here. Left-click. Okay? And then I'm going into my origin right here, and then I'm going to right-click critical on this curve with the 0 offset. Now we know we're dead on, okay? And I'm going to take out my rectangle and just have the XY datum. And I'm going to come in, middle click, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick my front view, XZ, origin, and we're going to go right here and approve it. Now I'm going to go on to my Y angle, and I can play with this, right? I can play with this number right here. And let's see, we got control diamond Windows side 25. So in this Y angle, I'm going to right click expression, pick this letter A, and then I'm going to pick this side control, all right, and OK to command. And we have that control in place so we can modify it at any time and OK it. Okay, now this other control that I put in here is for creating an angle. If you want to tilt the diamond and you don't want it going straight on, I could use this one control for both of them. All right? So, for example, shape, move, rotate. This datum plane, the direction is this x-axis. This angle, right-click, expression, left-click on this button, and pick this other control and approve it. All right? It's probably not what we want, but I want you to see how to play the game. Bingo. Do it again. Shape, move, pick this datum, direction is this axis, and it's defaulting to that control, but I don't trust it. I like to come in and go back to a dynamic input, erase it. It could very well work fine, but I prefer to come in, do the expression, press the letter A, and pick it again, and approve it. And you see it's rotated slightly. So, if we put a gem on it, and we'll just drop in a 1 millimeter stone on both of them. Okay, I'm going to leave the bezel alone because I think with common sense you could derive what the behavior will be. So we have these in place. We have angular dimension, angular controls in here. We have controls with the distance from the center. Come back into your attributes part, driving parameters, and just play it out. Let's go in here and let's say this is 30 and apply. Okay, so now it's closer to center. Go 20. Okay. Probably too tight if you got bezels in here. We can put in other controls for elevation. Let's go back to 50. And let's go back to, I want you to see this from a side view. Let's just see how this behaves at 20 degrees and apply it. Okay, so you see the tilt now. All right? So you can play with your angle over here, your distance closer to or further away. And that is sweet. Okay, control diamond window side, we did that. Got it. All right. Any questions on what we just did? Those two moves. Any questions? All right, let's move on to the next support question here. And this one here is, can we bend our prongs to go around in, an oval setting? And how do you pattern around an oval setting? I'm going to close this out. And we'll bring in a solitaire. And for the moment, I'm going to use an existing head. So I'll go to our settings tab and we'll go to wire settings. And I'm just going to use a default setting for now. We can build a custom one. So I'll build an 8x6 oval, drop it here, and well, we could move it down if we want. Let's just drop it down. That'll be fine for now. You want to play with this other stuff, it's fine. But remember, this is a component. This is not a shape. So again, shape is not highlighting. Component is highlighting. All right? A component has a history within this history. Double click it. Here's the history of this particular component. Okay? Go back to your parent object, and now you have the component right here within the history here. Okay? All right, so I'm going to merge it. Even though it's merged, remember, we could always come back and drag our model stop here above to access it as a component, right? So we have the luxury of working two ways with it. So now we're a shape. Okay, the shape has all these separate entities. And in this particular case, let's see, how shall we play this out? You know what, I'm going to play this as a component. I'm going to drag above the merge. I'm going to go to component, double click. And I'm going to go within the history of this particular component, and let's check it out. Let's see how we can play the game here. Okay, so you're seeing how this component was built. It's not hidden from view. Everything we have, you can see everything and play with it. If you can see it, you can play with it. You can modify it. So we got a line in over here. And we got a wire here. All right, so this particular fellow would like to bend this prong. Let's just go ahead and bend it. Let's separate it first. Okay, this is one way. Many ways to play the game here. I'll do another one after this. Okay, so I'm going to split this prong at a point. And my point is going to be right-click, curve surface intersection. This curve, this surface. Did it grab it? No, it didn't. Right-click. Well, we could do intersection also. Should be an intersection of this and this. For some reason it's not grabbing it. Let's see. Okay, I see what's going on. The curve that it's grabbing is the sketch. We want it to grab the edge. And this surface. All right, so at that particular point, I'm going to do that again just so you can see it clean. Okay, so it's a hole. I'm going to come into Wireframe, trim split at a point, pick this curve, right-click, curve surface intersection or intersection tool. Have your entity filter set to edge because we have our sketch that's off the edge over here and it's not allowing the intersection, okay? As the edge, it's okay. As the curve, it's off. All right, so we want to grab the edge and we want to grab this curve. And you see it snaps right to it clean. Okay, so we have this. And we'll come in with shape, move, rotate. We'll rotate this curve. Well, I'm going to use the direct editor. Okay? We could always come back in and play with that. And I'm going to move the position of the direct editor right at this curve's critical endpoint. Bingo. I want the z-axis lined up with this. And now I'm going to rotate this so that y-axis is perpendicular with the top view somewhat. And then I'm going to turn off the move handle and I'll change my angle in here. Okay, so let's say we want it bent out like this. Again, we can put controls on these things like we did before. I'm going to leave it at this. Okay, so now we have this sharp corner. I want a nice smooth flow from top to bottom. So I'm going to come in with a fillet. And this is my first curve, this is my second curve, and we'll examine this. And perhaps we want a little bit stronger of a radius. I'll go 0.75. Might want more than that, I don't know, but I'll leave it at that for now. And we can come in and wireframe, concatenate. I suspect in the upcoming version, I think I'll just build this into the prongs so you don't have to go through this. So I'll force this tangent, and now I'll put the rest of history to use. Plane, geometry, top over here. Okay, I don't want a rectangle, I want just the XY. And we'll just put history to use now. Okay, move, sketch. Just pay careful attention. We have a new wire. It's down here. So we got to pick that wire. We'll go back into the curve. Select it here at the bottom. Prong length. Oh, I'm not concerned with that one now. I'll edit and pick this here and okay it. I'm going to put in a plane at the bottom, just letting the history do the work. I'm going to edit the loft because we got a new drive curve. We'll see if the history will finish it off. Okay, so there's a bend. That's one way again. There's many ways to play the game. So now I'll go back to my root object, and we have this here. Okay, now we have our root object. We have the merge and the other face attributes changed. Okay, so this is a shape since we played it all out, right? We could again go back into it being a component by dragging this up, go to the root object. Oh, I may have gone too far here. Let's see. Ah, my fault. Entity filter on component. Double click this puppy. Come in here and check it out. We're looking for the area where we made our move. Right up here, right after the split. Edit. I'll keep this in place and bring this in and grab this curve. Line this up to critical endpoint, line up the z-axis, Move this out, turn it off, and if I want more of an angle, just knock it down. See if the rest of history plays out and locks it in. And it does. Okay? Go back to your root object, merge it. Okay, shape, face offset. And just play it as you like. But fillets. As you're doing your fillets, be careful you're not overlapping. Okay, you don't want this self-intersecting like this. It may look good from this view, but rotate it and you'll see it's not a good surface. So be careful, you don't want to exceed the radius of your prong. Okay. Like I said, I'm making note. I'm going to probably build this in an upcoming version where we'll have our angle controls on prongs. All right. Well, the other question was, how do you pattern it around an oval? So I guess he's not wanting to mirror them. Maybe he wants a whole group of prongs coming around. I'm not sure with the question, but I'll go back into the component. Double click, and let's see, prior to the mirror, we have our loft. And, well, in here, I'm just going to back this off so we can see this a little bit better. I'll take this face down, drop it down a little bit, and I'll put in a fillet in this particular area. Let's see. Yeah, I want that divided bezel in. I'm going to use that. Okay, so now we're in the history of this component where it's a shape. When you're in the history of the component, this is the stage where it's still a shape, right? I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to come in and show you how to pattern around this oval. I'm going to wireframe, and I'm going to get a curve from edge. One thing that's important with our tools is when we're patterning, we like to control the start points of our curves that we're using to pattern. So in order to do this, I'm going to wireframe, and I want to split those curves, right, entity filter on curve, at a point. Okay, and I want that point right where my shape is. Okay, I want to nail it there if it isn't. Okay, and it just may be, but I want to secure it. I'm going to go right click along this here, 12.5%. I'll take that, because that's where it is, and I'll approve it. Middle click. This one here, right click along here, 12.5%. I believe I got them both. Let me test it. I'll go to wireframe, point, right click along, and we're getting the arrow right over there. So I'm good with that. All right, so now let me just put a chamfer in here. We'll go to shape, pattern, this command right here. Our base is the prong, which is a shape. Initially, I like to go with this one here. Sometimes I'll pick this and flip back to the other one. So I'm going in my boundary, and I don't want to have this on edge, okay, because the edge start point is going to be over here. It's not where the shape is. I want it on curve. So I'm going to pick this curve and this curve. I'm not getting a preview, okay, so that's when I'm flipping back here, and I'm playing with it like that, and there we go. Okay. So that's how you can pattern your prongs around an oval or any other shape for that matter. Okay, you want to control the start point of your curves that you're using as a boundary. Okay, the command. And go back to your root object. This is a component in our root object, see? Then we can merge it. That's it. Okay, I know I'm moving a little fast on some of this. I'm just trying to get more information to you guys. I wanted to dig into this colored stone ring a little bit. We don't have a hell of a lot of time left. All right, let's go on that colored stone for a little bit. Okay, so this is where we left off the last session. We split this 3 o'clock face, okay? Now, as I'm modeling, I'm trying to show you as much information as possible. Again, I can't say it enough. I'm not looking for speed. I'm looking to unload information so you can digest it and play with it as you see fit. Okay, I don't want you to become a robot and just copy what I'm doing. Go in and learn all these different techniques for yourself so you can be creative. So, we probably can do a lot more to these different things as it comes to mind in the way of controls, in the way of how we build our surfaces. You can do an awful lot. Typically, for example, I'm building these with a single, a 2-point line. We can get a hell of a lot more versatile. Instead of a 2-point line, we put in a spline. With the spline, we can put in an end point, a midpoint, and another end point over here, or even force it to be tangent to this, and we can drag on it and make all sorts of organic shapes. I'll do that in another video so you can see it. Okay, but I just want you to be aware of that. A lot of times I'm building not necessarily for speed. I want to unload information, and you play with it within our given time. All right, so now we want to come in and we want to build a crossover in this particular area. Looks like I already brought in a curve. Hold on one second here. Yeah, I did. Okay, so we're going to want to take this quadrant, sweep it up here. Or, well, I may be wrong on that. Yeah, the bottom is going to be saved for our lower pave. And then we come from the top over here. All right, so first, I'm going to right-click, insert a datum. I'm going to pick my front view datum. I'm going to use this as a trimming tool. We're going to back it off over here. So the front view is, again, the XZ. And I'm going to offset it over here. We'll go about 5 millimeters, -5. Okay? We could have put a control for that so we can play with it later. Let's just do something real fast. Variable, control, outer curvature, curve. And I'll put in a -5 and OK to command. Okay, now I'll right-click Insert a Datum, pick this front view right here, and then in my offset, right-click, Expression, pick the letter A. Go grab a control that you just made. Okay, Control Outer Curve. Bingo. Now we have a control. All right? So now we'll come in with our wireframe. Trim to faces, pick this curve, middle click, pick this face. Notice the arrow's pointing in this direction, so it wants to keep the curve on this side. We don't want that. We want to keep the curve over here. We want to work from this edge over to here. Okay, from this edge over. And let's see, flip side to keep. OK to command. Okay, so here's our curve. I'm just going to make it much heavier in red. And I'm going to change my line attributes to red. Well, we could come in with more controls. If we want to control this thing to death, we can. If anybody has any questions on how to do it afterwards, we'll do it. I'm going to insert a datum. And I'm going to put it on a curve. This curve right here. I could leave that, it's grabbing it nicely, but I prefer to go to the origin, or even for that matter, pick this side view, okay? Pick the YZ this time. And right-click Curve Surface Intersection. This curve and a side view, and it's nailed. We know that puppy's nailed. And OK to command. Okay? So we have this quadrant here. Let me see what size we got. I want to inquire curve length. So we got 2.5 and what is this? 1.25. 2.5, 1.25. All right, so again, we can put in more controls here. Let's just say insert variable control top crossover angle. Say 20 degrees and OK. Wireframe. Let's see. All right. I was thinking of the blend tool possibly, but I see more controls for us in the wireframe. Through point curve tool. And I would like for you to see the display curvature. You don't have to work with this. I'm going to pick my points. My first point is off of the edge. this edge. It's important that we get this edge, all right? And I'm going to go right-click critical. And I'm going to have my cursor close to, but not on top of this point over here, because it's very easy to pick the end point of this or the end point of this. We don't want that. It's going to sweep. It's going to throw our curve around here. Or if we're picking this one, it's going to throw it around here. It wants to be tangent. Okay, so I want the end point of this curve, this edge. And now I want this curve here, the end point of that one. Okay? I'm going to make it a 2-degree curve. And we'll come in with, I'm going to middle click, start tangent, right click, curve tangent. The curve is this edge. Now I'm going on that end point, and I want to see that arrow pointing up. I could have my cursor out here. It doesn't matter. As long as the arrow is pointing in the direction that I'm drawing, I'm left clicking. Okay? Now, on my end, right here, the end, it makes it a lot easier on us. We could just come in and you have your entity filter on curve, left click in here, and it's going to grab it for you. Okay? So now at this stage of the game, I'm going to go in the front view and check it out. And I'll go in the right view and check it out. Okay? This is where we can put in additional curves over here and I'll wait. I'm not going to do it now. All right? But you already know how to do it. Insert variable, put in a control, put in a number that's close to a weight that you think it will be. And then you can play with it. You can have a hell of a lot more controls in here. So, right-click, weight, step size, I'm going to knock it down. Yeah, I'll go there. Okay, so I'm just going to kick this up and I'm watching my curvature. How is the flow? How do I want this thing to flow from the side? Okay? And you can check them out. 1.4. What's this look like at 1.4? Do I want that? Do I want to keep it at 1? Just follow your shape. And again, look at it from the side and look at it from the front view. Okay? So you can control exactly what you like. All right, so you can put in controls here, control here. You got to control with your datum for this here and approve it. Okay, and then we have control on an angle over here. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm liking that shape there. I'm going to right-click, redefine last, and I'm going to bump it up on here. Yeah, it's bowing out a little bit, but I'm liking this shape here. I'll leave this up to you guys. I'm going to concatenate this. Entity filter on curve. We'll pick 1, 2, and OK to command. All right, so if I had controls on that curve, we could play with it. We have controls on the datum. That's another way to play with it. I'm just going to clear that again. Left click, middle click. Okay, now that it's cleared, I'm going to left click and put in this control here. This -5 is the datum. This control top crossover angle. I'll left click and we'll bring that one in also. We'll use this for now. We're right at the tail end here. Okay, so right click, insert a sketch on this datum. And I believe I said we got a, was it 2.5 by 1.25 if I'm not mistaken? All right, I'm going to draw a line across here. It's not important as far as the length goes. I just want it horizontal, and I'll give it any dimension. Then I can come in with a rectangle, corner to corner. Oh, I missed it. We'll go over here, and we'll make our width 2.5 and our height 1.25. All right. Oh, I don't want it over there. I want it coming down. I want to start with it coming down here. If I have to dimension it afterwards, I'll do that. Or even better yet, I'll come in over here and bring the size in at this area, right, where there's no inferencing lines. Dimension it here, 2.5. Dimension this, right click, 1.25, okay, right? And right click, create a lock with this endpoint and the origin. And we want a point-on-point lock, bingo, all right? I'm going to shift, left click, right click, move. And I want to get this angle here in a position so I can set up my own angle. Okay, so now I'm going to right click and dimension an angle in here. We hit 20. I think that's the lock I put in on it. We'll approve it and test this. So we can control it later on. We want to verify, okay, so that's moving nicely. In case we don't want 1.25, let's see how this behaves. That's moving nicely. In case we want bigger stones, we have that control. Everything's performing exactly the way we want. But we want to control, we want this controlled. So I'm going to right click, modify value. Press the letter A. I'm in the sketch environment. A lot of times in the sketch, you're going to see this little arrow. Left click on it and go to what we're working on. Control Halo Webinar Day 1. Left click on it and control top crossover angle 20. All right, and approve it. So now this is linked up. If you wanted to modify this, it's linked. We'll control it from 3D space. Okay, so now, shape. Well, before we do that, wireframe, we want to come from this face right here. Let's create a curve list off of these edges. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we should have 4 in there. It looks like I missed one. Okay, so now we'll come in with shape. We can also come in and erase this face prior to if we want. And do this with open end caps, and later on we'll sew it. Shape, drive curve loft, same thing as a standard sweep in Rhino. Okay, our curve is our path. Our first sketch is a curve list. We'll pick it on top. Our second profile is the sketch. We want to pick it on top. And we'll do open end caps and OK to command. So now we'll play with our control and just check it out. Attribute part. $25. Apply. Okay, it's not showing up much, but let me come in a dead-on side view. Let's go 35. Okay, so you can see everything would just modify. We have stones in here, whatever it is. If we didn't want to put in a flat surface, we can put in a spline and create all sorts of organic shapes. We didn't have to come in with a rectangle. We could have come in with a spline all over it and drag it out. And again, you're making organic pieces in here, right? Control out of shape. Let's see, if we didn't go back so far, maybe we came a little bit tighter over here. Let's just see how it behaves. You might have to step in history. Let's go 4, apply. It's a little bit tighter. I don't know if you can see that. Let's go 3. It's tighter yet, you see? Okay? So as we're moving the datum in, you got control with how far this is wrapping over. Right? So you got controls. And again, you can put as many as you like in here or as little. Okay? You can work without the controls. You just click and drag. Go in the sketch and just move it yourself. Okay, so let's come back out to, let's say 5.5, apply. Now you're out here. We're going to leave it at that for now. All right, before we take off, are there any questions? Okay, everyone, I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, remember support at jewellerycaddream.com, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a good night.